The Severn River begins in Powys. The source is up on Plynlimmon, just north of Llanidloes. And there's quite a large tract of the river, in fact, in Powys, which is very rurally set. There's only 3 settlements on the river before it reaches England. So essentially, I think the importance for Powys to be involved in the River Severn project is to make broader links outside of our own region through the use of the arts, and also through several different disciplines within the arts world, which are street arts, site-specific work, installation, sound, and to just look at how other communities present and receive the arts as opposed to quite rural settings where we're based. I'm also interested in looking at how other local authorities work together in creating much larger projects.
For me, I'm really interested around the ideas of getting people actually off their bums and going to the river. And for Bristol, I think it would probably be an R&D in 2007 for 2008. So I think there's lots of ideas that chime really nicely. And I think the marketing would be really interesting as well. Joining up all of those people in would be fascinating.
This morning was very much exciting for me because it demonstrated the talent that's out there with local artists and how that can be engaged with a project of this magnitude. What particularly excites me about this project is the community engagement, not just within Shropshire, although obviously that's very important, but with other communities, Powys, Worcestershire and so on. And that really does excite me, that we're actually engaging and working with a broad range of people towards one common goal, celebrating the River Severn and its impact on people over the years.
Now here we are actually on the banks of the Severn. There she is before you, beautiful river herself. There she is. Now it's a little known fact that the Severn claims about 7 lives a year.
When you start off something, you have an idea of who you're working with, what are their interests, what are their experiences, what would they do in a situation that perhaps they'd only dreamt of before but haven't been in.
We are hoping to send a message and get a message back. We'll be hopefully receiving it through the mics, and our friends will hear them.
I think street arts is a very participatory process, and I think it's particularly good when people are engaged in the process. If people are part of it, it means a lot more, I think, than actually sort of watching a lot of the stuff that goes on. And I think that's the bit that's good about something like today. It inspires, I suppose. It can see that there's different things that you can do, and that's what I'm really looking for. So when I'm trying to look to get young people involved in projects, I'm looking at ways in which I can do that.
I'm getting slight spasms here. 32 normally does it. 32. Don't ring head office.
No, I won't. I can't stand the receptionist.
The opportunity to take, for example, a group of young people from where I work in Oswestry down to, for example, Bristol, it would be just a great opportunity for them to see something very, very different. Link up with different people, it'd be great.
We are engaging with artists at an early stage. We're bringing in a broad range of people at an early stage to gather as many ideas as possible. We're out here today in this fantastic setting, and it acts as a natural catalyst to spark off further ideas that will help shape the project over the next 12 to 18 months.
The idea is to have a puppet either walking along the river or walking across the river, and it can be on a larger scale. I've also thought about having it on fire, perhaps as it walks along, so that it doesn't quite make it to the other bank, so you have fire on water in the form of a figure walking, and also ideas about how you could combine it with live performance as well.
We were thinking of making double CD of sounds of the river. One part perhaps sounds and then overlaid with narrative.
The project group is it's a visual arts group, but it's involved in making public art commissions and projects, but all the members are in touch with the adult mental health services. And to have two people having their own contracts, being paid a reasonable amount of money to act as, to be artists in their own right, to me that is the most incredibly exciting thing, because that just doesn't happen very often.
Through the making and through seeing other people make and seeing how they work and seeing their process, it was just yesterday, Simon had a huge gong, and it looked like a great big plug, like a great big bath plug, and it just suddenly struck me how marvellous it would be to see a long chain coming out of the river, and to get the audience, the public, to pull on this chain, and then to see a huge plug come out of the river, and then to create a whirlpool, which is possible apparently. If you get a tube and you get a motorboat motor underneath that tube, you can create a whirlpool. And that idea would never ever have come to me unless I'd seen that gong, unless I'd seen other people, their process and their making.
We started on a dialogue about street art, street theatre, and was this going to be street theatre, or was it site-specific work or environmental art? And I suppose I feel very strongly that I loved working in the environment, in the park, with the trees, with the river. I think I've fallen in love with the river a little bit. I've loved being outside. It's been such a delight to work outdoors all week.
The river is the currency of the whole project. It's going to be manifest in dozens of different ways.
It's very complex, it's huge, it's a massive idea, and it's probably virtually impossible, but we'll bring it off, because I think we've got the capability between us and with people that we know to make connections with all kinds of groups, all kinds of people, artists, everybody from the WI to the Scouts to the churches to the institutions, the museums and all the rest of it. We can talk to people like that because we sort of understand, I think, how people can all fit in and fit together, that it's not just about artists, there's a lot of backup needed. In fact, that probably the organisational team behind it is probably more substantial in the end than the artists themselves. That sort of backup, so all that's got to be in place and all that's got to be knitted together to support the artists, really. And I think the thing about this project is it's so huge and so exciting and such a sort of audacious idea that people really come on board once they get the plan that, oh, really, you're going to try and do that? And you go, yep, and they go, okay, we want to be part of that, because they just see the possibilities.
The strongest responses that I heard to the piece we did this morning were on an emotional level, and that's really where we were trying to meet people.
M48 Severn suspension. Opened by the Queen. Severn estuary.
1966. Sir Percy Thomas, Sir William Arrol and Company.
Second Severn crossing. That's your last bridge. Severn estuary.
The Severn estuary.
There's great scope for work like this, and multiply it all the way down the river, and then you've got a great potential for involvement at all levels, artists and the wider community, and that would be a very noble thing to do, I think.